Today, I want to talk about the absolutely disturbing reveal from the recent episode of Helluva Boss, GHOSTFers, where we saw the crazy truth of what actually happened to Blitz's mother on the night of her death. Helluva Boss deals with the idea of horror a lot, as it's a show about hell and demons, but this episode takes it to a new high, or a new low depending on how you view it, with one of the most subtle but disturbing moments in the entire series. In this particular episode, Blitz and Millie go on a mission to Earth where a client says they were murdered by a ghost. Millie makes it clear that it's common knowledge in hell that ghosts don't exist, but Blitz wants to use it as an excuse to play sexy ghost hunters. This would normally be fine, but Blitz's entire life is falling apart at this point in the story, and that means his business is falling apart, and that means Moxie, Luna, and Millie are the ones who suffer the most. At first, Blitz doesn't seem to care about this much, as he's happy to make the others suffer for his enjoyment, but it goes to a pretty dark place in this episode. At the hotel, they end up running into an infestor demon, or a possessor as the fanbase called them before this episode. The possessor acts similar to a ghost in troped-up horror films, being able to prey on the bad memories of Blitz in particular, and there is a lot. In recent episodes, Blitz had been shown to have hurt a lot of people in relationships, mostly out of fear of commitment. When someone else shows love for him, he pushes them away and hurts them, with Millie being the only person in the show besides Stolas who seems to want to be close to him. This trauma seems to stem from the accident he caused at his family circus, which led to a lot of lives being ruined. This was Cash Buxo's business, so when his own son burnt it down, he had nothing left. Fizzarolli was also a victim, losing limbs and damaging his skin and horns beyond repair. When Rolando shows memories of that night to Blitz, we see that Cash clearly blamed Blitz for what happened and pushed Blitz out of the hospital when he was trying to visit Fizzarolli. Blitz and Fizzarolli had both alluded to someone keeping them away from each other after this accident, with this episode confirming that it was Blitz's father. Barbie Wire as well was apparently somewhat famous because of her act at this circus, and afterwards was known to fall into drug abuse and later rehab. While losing the spotlight was undoubtedly hard, she was likely dealing more so internally with the loss of her mother, who of course also died that night. Originally, the show didn't let us see what happened to Blitz's mother, and instead, we just got the clear indication that she had met an even worse fate than Fizz, that she had lost her life. This episode didn't just give us more details on this, but just enough details to help you realize just how messed up Blitz is, and how that has affected his relationship with others such as Stolas, Millie, and really everyone. Fizz was horribly mangled in this accident, but when it comes to Blitz's mother, I imagined her just burning to death, something almost peaceful compared to Fizz's tragedy. In Blitz's vision brought upon by the infestor, however, Blitz's mother Tilla crumbles before him with him trying to help, desperately grabbing at her falling eye. This was a pretty sickening moment, but since it was just a vision brought on by the infestor, I didn't take it as anything too literal, and instead I thought it was just a disturbing way for the infestor to mess with Blitz. However, when shown projections of what looks like the real memories of Blitz that he doesn't want to have to look at, we see there is a horrifying moment as the circus burns down where Blitz finds his mother's necklace that he later repurposed for his outfit. Look at how similar it looks to the eye from this angle, and how it mirrors the moment with his mother from the possessor's vision, where he grabs at her eye as she falls apart, but we don't actually get to see what happens next in the projections, almost as if it's too gruesome to show, something they can only show in the context of a horrifying surreal vision, and not in Blitz's actual memories that he's trying to repress. The show is gruesome and has episodes and scenes filled with gore, but those are mostly for fun or even for humor. This, on the other hand, was the eye of someone close to Blitz, his own mother, which is a relationship that all of us have some personal connection to. I can't express just how messed up it is to have this moment where Blitz grabs at her eye as it rolls away. It's not logical, of course, but tragedy never is, and when something devastating happens, people aren't sure how to react. If you see someone bleeding, you want to reach out and put your hands over it to stop the bleeding, but when you're trapped in that mindset, you just end up doing something illogical, disturbing, or even making things worse somehow. It emphasizes the panic that Blitz was in, but also how much he realizes how he didn't just waste that moment, but how he imprinted it on his own brain through further trauma. We see Tilla breaking apart in this vision brought upon by the infestor, but we don't see that in Blitz's memories played on the projector. He may never have seen that happen, or it may just not be nearly as devastating as the moment with his mother's eye, something he just can't block out. Something that the infestor was able to prey on because he's able to taste the memories of Blitz and knows what is haunting and disturbing to him, and he wants to see them for himself. It is because of that one moment and all of the trauma tied to it that I wonder if Blitz has commitment issues with people later. He seems to go out of his way to hurt people when they express love to him, and while I talked in the past about how that may have something to do with an ominous prior love interest he keeps alluding to, is it possible he might be trying to subconsciously warn the people of the dangers they may face for loving him? Blitz likes to act like an overly sexualized person, one who chases everyone else and thus everyone else runs away from him. It's when someone actually likes Blitz that he begins to push them away, and when they show too much affection, he hurts them in a personal way. Vraska had loved Blitz enough to get a tattoo of his name on her arm, and when she finally told him that she loved him, Blitz stole her car and credit cards and rode off to the Wrath Ring to get horseback riding lessons. In this episode, Blitz expressed that he makes everyone else's lives worse, and it makes sense, at least on some subconscious level that he can't comprehend, that he needs to sabotage every relationship to warn people that getting closer to him leads to pain, because he's afraid that the real punishment for being with him will be losing your life one day, the way his mother did. Blitz's dad was shown to be a manipulative jerk who emotionally blackmailed Blitz into robbing Goetia so that they can get more money, but Blitz's mom is presented as a lot more loving. In the early photos we have of little Blitz and baby Barbie Wire, they both look happy to be with their mom and are presenting her with gifts that they made for her. We see photos of them with their mother, but not with their father, and it makes sense that they'd have one parent, even if not perfect, that they saw as the one that is more loving, the one that is a safe place for them to go to in order to seek comfort and just general happiness. I wouldn't be surprised to learn she also had a dark side, as even if one parent acts like they love you more than the other, that doesn't mean they aren't also trying to hurt or use you. But so far, Blitz's relationship is presented as loving his mother, and really, he's based his entire life around what happened with her. She was the one who loved Blitz, and he was the one who killed her. And because of that, everyone who loves Blitz is at risk of meeting that same fate in his mind, or even just one like Barbie Wires or Fizzarolli's. In this episode, Blitz started to deal with these feelings thanks to Millie, who was able to show that he had made her life better. It wasn't that Millie wasn't capable of making a life for herself, she had just been taught that it was impossible, that imps could only aspire for so much. Blitz does his best to be as off-putting to Moxie and Millie as possible, I would say, while still keeping them in his life, but it was really just being himself and chasing his dreams to be seen as more than just what society says he is that led to Millie appreciating him. I want to believe that it was his own mother Tilla that would instill this thinking into Blitz's mind, or else it was something that Blitz already had that only his mother appreciated about him. After her death, this would be the only thing that mattered to Blitz, the closest he would get to redemption for what happened to his mother. By chasing these dreams of being more than what society expects of him, he also inspired Millie, and thus in this episode learned that he can be a positive force in other people's lives. In fact, when not trying to subconsciously push people away, he can be a perfect role model for how to act in a world that tries to push you down and oppress you. However, this isn't going to solve his problems with Stolas, and in fact, that pattern might just be deepening here. While he was originally worried of Stolas using and dumping him, the danger on the horizon we see in the trailers is Stolas being attacked at what looks like a meeting for the Goetia and Deadly Sins. I've theorized for a while now that this episode will have the Royals learning that Stolas had abused his power to help Blitz with his business, and that is why this little battle occurs where Blitz seems to be using a sword to try and defend Stolas. This will play into Blitz's ideas that anyone who loves him just gets hurt or even risks dying, and it will undoubtedly shape the journey for Season 3. Perhaps after making amends in this episode and Stolas wanting them to be together again, Blitz realizes that nothing he does will keep Stolas safe, and will only make Stolas' life worse. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on this video and that theory in the comments down below, or check out our other video we did on the finale and what we think will be happening there in more detail. And if you really like Helluva Boss, we also put out a video that's over an hour long about the Helluverse iceberg charts. And if you get into our early access memberships here on the channel or on our Patreon, we have already put out 2 parts of a big 6-part video that we're working on, using Lucifer and Hazbin Hotel to explain the real life story of Lucifer in the Bible. Links will be down below, and I'll see you guys next time.